Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Warwick League, brought to you in part, at least, by myself, Tom Taraby's Coward, and my co-host, Rory Roysource Wiltshire.
Tonight we'll be featuring a couple of games from the NUEL, the first of which will be our very own Grey Warwick, the best team at Warwick, versus the Flappening, otherwise known as University of York.
Alright, so before we get into Champ Select, Rory, let's talk a little bit about Grey Warwick, because they've had quite the shake-up over the last few weeks, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. A couple of weeks ago, the roster looks very different to how it was now. So, there's only two surviving members of the current team, or of the old team. Prince Philip in the top lane, and Mr. Rogers the AD. So, there's three new members. In the jungle, we have NUEL, which used to be a sub-jungler for another of the Warwick team's buff. Cute Lilligao is the mid laner, who actually did sub for Grey Warwick last season. He subbed for support for one of the games. And I think he subbed for jungle, did he, for one of the games? I can't quite remember. But he has played on the team before. And Sarnem, which used to be on Big Bad Warwick, is now on new support.
So what can you tell me about these new players? I haven't heard too much about them, and I'm sure you know a little bit more, especially being the ex-captain of the team.
Yeah, well, Cute Lilligao, new mid laner, he's sort of jack of all trades, master of none. As I said before, he subbed for us in two different roles before. He claims his efficiency in all and every champions. So I think it's going to be good to see if he can hold up against more sort of defined mid laners. It's going to be a tough role. The bot lane, Sarnem coming as a new support. I want to see how his synergy with Mr. Rogers is going to hold up. I know they haven't played a huge amount of games, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they fare up. And NUEL is the new jungler. I know him and Prince Philip have been duo queuing quite a lot recently, especially the last couple of days, so their synergy should be quite good. But with any new team, when 3/5 of them are new, teamwork and synergy is also going to be like a tough area, and it's going to be interesting to see how they cope today.
That's very interesting. So I'd have to pause you there as we move straight into Champion Select. Now, we do know that Prince Philip has been putting a lot of time into solo queue lately, having won 167 games already. So would you expect them to be trying to target ban Prince Philip in this case?
Yeah, like if I was the Flappening, definitely. He's the highest rated player at Warwick, recently getting Challenger, although he has dropped down to Master Tier now. And he's very proficient on a few champions, Singe being the main one, which they have banned away straight away. He's also a very good Malphite player, and Maokai as well, so they're his top three. So if I was a Flappening, that's probably what I would be target banning. Mr. Rogers is also very efficient on Jinx. I know he's played a lot of that, so that might also be a good ban. But they have gone for the Vi ban, which I know NUEL has been playing a lot recently, so it's not a bad idea either.
No, absolutely. And I know you were talking earlier about the Flappening having a very strong Narvan combo. So would you expect Warwick to try and ban away the Jarvan? Well, they don't.
They don't. I say I would. I know their top laner, Lord Duckington, is a very proficient Gnar player, and they have banned that away. I would personally have liked to see a Jarvan ban, just because I know their jungler, Ashen. Oh. And as I say that, the Flappening ban it away. So, well, it's out of the game anyway, but I know Ashen Faced is a very proficient Jarvan player, so that's gone anyway.
So looking at the first pick for Warwick here, you wouldn't expect a first pick Malphite to come out, would you? So what kind of things are you looking at? Janna, that's probably not too bad.
Janna, very contested pick, one of the best supports in the current meta. Sarnem is a very good Janna player, so I think that's a very good first pick.
But of course, we still have Rek'Sai open. And Lissandra? There's still some very strong picks.
There's some very OP stuff open. Rek'Sai, Lissandra, sort of Lee Sin still open. A lot of good mid laners. Blanks open. Graves, very strong AD at the moment, still open. I wonder if Kalista is going to get picked. A lot of LCS players are liking her at the moment. And let's just see what happens.
So we have the Flappening now hovering over Lee Sin, which would be an interesting pickup. I feel like Lee Sin is very mid-tier jungler at the moment, verging on the high tier, I suppose.
Yeah, like I don't think he's ever been bad in any meta. He's definitely not top tier of junglers at the moment, but if you know how to play him, he's pretty much good in every team comp. So
I'd like to see the Nidalee jungle come out, actually, personally.
Nidalee jungle very strong at the moment, but I wonder if any of these junglers have had time to practice her. That'd be the only thing I'd worry about.
Yes, definitely. So it looks like they're hovering the MF. I haven't seen an MF in a long time.
Yeah, it's a very obscure pickup. Well, they have changed it now to a Maokai.
That makes a bit more sense, I suppose.
A bit more meta. So I think that's a better pickup there.
So now that Prince Philip potentially knows his matchup. Would you like to see him pick his champion now, or do you think there's more contested picks to pick up?
I think that'll depend entirely on their team, to be honest. If they want to save the mid pick to sort of last to avoid the counter, or I don't know. It's a tough one, really. Maokai very strong in 2v1, so I don't know if they're going to initiate a lane swap or not.
Yeah, well, we will see. Grey Warwick will. When we were playing on Grey Warwick, we were now well known for our 2v1ing. At least we like to think so. So we'll see if that tradition carries over here. There seems to be some discussion going on in the Grey Warwick camp. We're really ticking down the clock. I wonder what they'll be picking up. The Jinx, potentially, for Mr. Rogers.
Yep, that's been locked in.
And the Rek'Sai, which isn't all that surprising, to be honest. I mean, she is definitely top tier jungle right now. And yep, there we go. We lock in the Rek'Sai and the Jinx for Mr. Rogers. Now, do you feel... They have the Janna, so... Is that enough security for Mr. Rogers on the mobile Jinx, or do you feel he could easily be shut down by the rampaging Maokai and the Lee Sin?
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. Maokai is incredibly good at single target lockdown, and there's always a risk of the insect from the Lee Sin. Janna probably is the best support for peeling. You've got the Tornado and the Monsoon, along with the Slow and the Shield. So if any support is going to peel enough for a Jinx, it's going to be Janna. It's just going to depend how they play it, really, and what the rest of the champions are.
The Urgot Hover, I highly doubt that's going to be locked in here.
Thought we were in Nemesis draft for a moment with the Urgot pick, but...
no, not quite, I'm afraid. So, we're looking for a mid laner and a bot lane for the Flappening. The Caitlyn wouldn't be a bad choice against the Jinx, although Caitlyn's scaling mid-game seems a bit questionable, and they do lock in the Thresh and the Caitlyn. That's not a bad lane. I mean, you'll know a 2v2 battle. How do you think those lanes will match up if they do end up going 2v2?
It's not sort of biggest counter. Normally Caitlyn's a lane bully because of the range, but Jinx has the rocket, has an increased range with that as well, so it's not the worst matchup. If it was something like a Sivir or a Lucian, then the Caitlyn lane would be a lot nicer. It's sort of... Thresh is a very good Jinx counter though. A champion with no escapes, a hook is just going to hit onto that and it's pretty much dead. So, but it's going to be interesting. I know the York AD carry is a very proficient Caitlyn player, one of his most played champions, so... I'm going to expect good things, to be honest. And
I like Warwick's combo. They've just picked up Malphite and Orianna. We were talking about Prince Philip being a very good Malphite player earlier, and with the Orianna, that can create quite a bit of disruption, especially against the Caitlyn, who doesn't really like being whacked in the face by a giant rock, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely not. I know from our previous experience that Grey Warwick aren't they're used to wombo combo teams. We used to like the old Yasuo wombo combo. This is very similar, but instead of the Yasuo ulti, you have an Orianna ulti, so it's pretty much the same thing. There's also, you can also do the ball delivery system with Rek'Sai, burrowing underground, with a knock up from that, and then comboed into the Orianna ult, so I think it's a very nice team comp. And then you've got the AoE damage from Jinx, which is very nice.
Yeah, and they do lock in the Lissandra mid lane. Now, I really do fear for Mr. Rogers' life here, to be honest.
Yeah, they have so much stuff to get onto him.
Jinx doesn't have a great time against Lissandra, Maokai, Thresh, Lee Sin. I feel like... But we did see it work yesterday with CLG, I suppose.
Yeah, like, you can see with this, execution is a hell of a lot of it when it comes down to team comp, so if York can do well and get onto Mr. Rogers, you're going to have a really tough game. But if Warwick peel well and get the initiations, then he should be the dish higher.
There's certainly a lot more damage on Warwick at the moment. So we'll see how it goes as we load into the Rift. Oh, or not, because there's a 3-minute delay. Forget about that. So let's talk about the teams a little bit more. So what can you tell me about the Flappening? I don't know too much about them. How did they secure their place in the Super 8? Because they definitely weren't there last season.
Yeah, so as Super 8, the top 8 teams of the NUEL, they're in their own sort of separate league, where they play against each other for 3 spaces in the final grand finals of the NUEL. The Flappening are the only team that have changed since the December tournament. And
since the inception?
Yeah, since inception actually, because for the first 2 November and December tournaments, it was the same 8 teams. But in the playoffs in December, the Flappening beat out Subfusks, also known as Oxford University, for a space in the Super 8. So they're a newcomer. It's going to be a good test for them, I think, their first game in the Super 8, because it was I feel it was a very different entity to the S League. All the teams knew each other and they'd played each other a good few times. And I think in the S League you played more sort of random teams each week because there's a lot more people in it. And so I think it's going to be a good test for them, see how they fare up against what is considered the better teams. Well, what is the better teams in the NUEL.
Yeah, interesting one. Although, like we said earlier, we do have to question how strong Warwick are going to be. So we were talking about them changing up a lot earlier. Do you think they're now stronger than they were before, or have they downgraded a little bit?
Well, I would like to be biased against myself, obviously. It's hard to be objective when I used to be on the team. I feel that... What I'm going to say to be unbiased, I feel Prince Philip is better than he used to be. So I can say, even though they haven't changed the top laner, he's put a lot of effort in. As you see, spammed 157 wins in solo queue, and since whenever the new season started, he flew up to Challenger tier. So he's definitely improved about what he was. Lack was a self-proclaimed not a mid laner, and I know he struggled a lot, especially against the other top tier mids that there were in the NUEL, such as Artesh and Nyx and Quad Cannon. They're all very strong mid laners. But as I said previously, Cute Lilligao, he's not a mid laner either. He said he plays every role. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be good to see how he adapts to this.
But it's also true that mid lane is a 2v2 role.
Yeah.
The jungler plays a big role, and could the change in jungler here perhaps spell better things for Grey Warwick in the mid lane?
It could do. It's all going to depend on their synergy, to be honest, where Nollet focuses stuff. I know you want me. I know you're trying to ask me who's a better jungler out of Nollet and you, and I say I can't answer that, to be honest. I know solo queue wise, I think you were both Diamond 5 last season, so I think he was Diamond 5. So I'm not sure on that. It's all going to come down to synergy, to be honest. And as Grey Warwick, as the new roster hasn't practiced that much, I think it's going to be interesting. See what happens.
Alright, so we're finally loading onto the Rift after that 3-minute delay, and we will get things going as quickly as possible. Would you like to introduce the team?
Yes, so...
As we load onto the Rift.
For the blue team, Grey Warwick, in the top laner we have Prince Philip, in the jungle we have Nollet, in the mid lane Cute Lilligao, and our bot lane AD Mr. Rogers, and support Sarnum. And on the red side the Flappening, or University of York, for the top laner Lord Goose Bolton, in the jungle Ashen Faced, in the mid Nick TSM ITW, and the bot lane AD Lord Duckington, and the support a Purple Penguin.
And unfortunately for us, they didn't actually order themselves up, so scumbag York.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens as we load onto the Rift. Prince Philip taking his time, as per usual. So what are the win conditions for both teams here? How do you think it's going to play out? I mean, like I said earlier, that the Flappening potentially has less damage than Warwick, and I still stand by that, but do you feel that means their mid game will be stronger, or even their early game?
Yeah, I can't say. I think laning wise, I can't see a clear advantage. Obviously, Caitlyn is a lane bully, so bot lane might be a bit better for them. I can't say I'm too well versed in the top lane Maokai Malphite matchup. And mid lane, Lissandra Oriana, I think it's going to be a bit of a farm fest. But I think a lot of this is going to sort of rely on a lot of vision. As we said before, York have a very kill one target comp. They're going to want to get a Lissandra ulti, a Maokai root, or a Lee Sin kick onto either Mr. Rogers or Cute Lilligao. And so if they can set with the vision and make those picks, especially with a Thresh hook, that could be instrumental. If we get into a team fight, I think Grey Warwick are going to take it. There's just Malphite ulti, Oriana ulti, Rek'Sai knock-up, Jinx rocket, with the peel from Janna. I feel in a 5v5 with sort of even initiation, I think Grey Warwick will take it.
Alright, so we're loading onto the Rift. We have the Flappening we're staying together looking for an invade by the looks of it. And they do, well, they walk straight into a ward and they're spotted out instantaneously. So, not a lot of level 1 action by the looks of it. Grey Warwick has taken up a more defensive stance, spreading out through the jungle, and we have Prince Philip actually going for a little roam up to the red buff. It's always good to have a little bit of knowledge there, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, Grey Warwick. I know we like to do it a lot, getting deep wards in at level 1. And see, I don't know if Prince Philip plans to take the red or just scout out where York's jungler starts. But I feel it was a good start by Warwick. They just sort of had a line of wards sort of down the river, spotted any potential invades, and just played it safe.
Now it does look like we're setting up for standard lanes here with the 2v2 bot lanes staying in the bot. No Australian lanes, no 2v1s this time. Is that showing that neither team has really practiced as much as we would have expected? I know Warwick definitely haven't put as much time in.
I think it can be like, I think 2v1 is not something you just go into willy-nilly. It's definitely something you have to practice. And I think very standard lanes, I think it sort of shows that they might not have practiced it. They definitely practiced 2v1 if they practiced anything. I think time will tell.
Alright, well, mid lane battle's already beginning. Let's have a look at the items, I suppose, the item spreads. We've got everyone going for fairly standard items. We can move these around, I think. So we actually have biscuits in the mid lane. I don't know if you have any opinion on that.
I'm not entirely sure. I can't say I played too much Orianna. I know when the rare occasion I have played her, I don't go biscuits. But yeah, so what was that, 9 masteries in utility? Was it to get biscuits, I think?
It's not. Yes, it is 9 actually. It does require 9. So we actually have 3 players on Warwick taking at least 9 mastery points in utility to take those biscuits, which is interesting. I do feel like utility masteries tend to scale a little bit better into the late game, but early game you do lose that extra bit of defense that can be somewhat useful.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see if that pays dividends as a hook goes down bot lane, but it's Janna.
Yeah, flame misses, but the Q from Caitlyn hits and a good bit of damage going down to Salmon. And you can see that a lot of early game pressure bot lane. With the new meta and with the jungle taking longer, I feel bot lane is a very strong thing to push in early, because the junglers take a lot longer to take their roots, they take a lot more damage, and so a gank isn't going to come out till sort of the 3-4 minute mark. And so you can push around the tower early, and there's not the risk of early ganks like there was in previous matches.
Speaking of junglers, let's just have a look at their routes. Both junglers cleared one side of the jungle and then, well, cleared two camps on one side of the jungle and moved on to their second buff. Do you think that's pretty standard of junglers these days?
I think that's pretty standard route. Both starting on bot side, with red side starting Gromp and blue side starting at the Krugs, then went onto the buffs, and then other side and do the other buffs. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do next. I see Nollet took a lot more damage on the Rex side than Ashen Face did in the Lee Sin, so I think Lee Sin has the opportunity to go for an early gank now. Nollet, you can see he's taking a lot of damage. He didn't die to this.
Actually died to this Gromp here, and he does go down. Well, lucky for him, the new jungle doesn't take your buffs, but it's still fairly embarrassing to have that streamed.
He did get the kill though, and maybe it's just quicker than recalling. You don't know.
I'd give him that, I suppose. He does pick up the Stalker's Blade on the way back, so he has his items. He knows what he wants. Let's see if either of the junglers clear out the crab's move. It does look like Lee Sin is clearing out the crab, which is interesting to say the least. I tend to think it's better to wait till you have your jungle items so you get the 30 extra gold. And here comes the gank mid lane. Luckily, the minion wave prevents the Q from hitting, and he gets away with his life, but at the cost of his flash, which is rather important for an Orianna, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely. And if I was the Flapping now, I'd be looking just to repeat gank in sometime in the next 5 minutes, because if you can shut down an Orianna, especially against Lissandra, it's going to be a very tough time to let it go.
And speaking of that, at least it does appear to be hanging around the mid lane, despite Orianna trying to back, although actually it does look like they're still there. So this could be scary times for Warwick in the mid lane at the very least. And we have a lot of focus on this bot lane, where Caitlyn has done what Caitlyn does and carved out a pretty hefty CS lead already, actually.
Yeah, 31 to 18 after only 5 minutes. Grey Warwick's been pushed under tower, hard to farm there, and it's a great job by Flappening, you know. Just keep it there. If they can draw pressure down from Rek'Sai and allow Lee Sin to camp mid, avoid the situation of the 2v2 turnaround there, I think it's a good strong lane.
Yeah, it does look like all of the Flappeling's lanes are actually being pushed in, which just put a lot of pressure on that Rek'Sai there. And if you potentially get counter ganked by Lee Sin just once, that could actually spell the game. I mean, there's a lot to be won in a turnaround counter gank like that. So we will see what happens. It does look like Nollet is making his way down to the bot lane now. So
and he's not walking over ward. They'll go over ward and try but he's going to be able to make his way in.
And yep, that's gone. We got a flash there, but unfortunately it doesn't look like there's much more than that. So that's a bit unfortunate. Hopefully that gives a little bit of relief of pressure to Mr. Rogers so he can pick up his farm a tiny bit. He is 17 behind still, and I don't feel like that gap's going to be closed anytime soon.
Yeah, and the York bot lane didn't take too much damage either, so I feel they're not in too great a position. They only blew a flash, didn't get much damage down, and so this lane's going to be still really hard.
Indeed. But up in the top lane, Prince Philip has managed to pull out a small lead on his opponent, which is good thing for Warwick. Not it's coming with the return gank, but he is being counter-ganked. This isn't going to go well if they can't flash out, but the...
And the Lee Sin missed the hook and the traps go down.
And that does look like it's okay. The double TP. I think they should both cancel this really, but no, they both come through and they both walk away. Interesting.
We're going for the standard 4-man bot lane.
Yeah, I feel like if either one had cancelled, they actually would have got a pretty big advantage there. Which is unfortunate. I guess that's a communication thing as well, especially since both teams were actually safe at that point. But there you go. Both top laners are level 6 though, so they do have their ultimates available to them if they see fit.
York do have the health advantage at the moment, so they might want to try and pressure this dragon. It looks like Lord Goosebolt on Maokai is just going to recall along with Lee Sin.
Yes, it does. And in the mid lane, both mid laners have picked up the Chalice now, although we have a small lead to the Flappening mid laner, who also has some boots, which is kind of helpful against Orianna, but there's an argument to be made for the Chalice or against the Morello Nomicon, of course, and I mean, you can understand buying a Chalice against like P-ish. You got Maokai that does magic damage, and I suppose in a sense Malphite does her own magic damage. But would you like to see a little bit greedier build here? Do you think the Morello Nomicon would have been okay?
I think in this situation both mid laners, or especially,
this is dead.
And as I say that, Orianna does go down. I think Orianna does want to go for just more farm orientated sort of lane. They have a very strong wombo combo, so I think their mid and late game is going to be stronger than New York. So I think Chalice is good if she could just pull it off and just farm safely. She does give up a kill to the sort of burst and CC that Sandra brings there.
Well, that, not having the flash there was pretty tragic, I have to say. So in the top lane we just have the wet noodle fight is going on. Prince Philip is still a good wave of farm ahead, which is very good for Grey Warwick, although they have managed to fall about 600 gold behind, which is slightly more than just the kill.
Yeah, and especially with York just taking away that first dragon as well, there's going to be a somewhat sizable lead in the early game for York. Just going to see how Grey Warwick can bring this back, because I think even though they do have a strong mid and late game, if they fall behind too far early, then it's going to be very hard for them to come back.
And interestingly enough, Lee Sin picked up the Brutalizer before the second jungle item. How do you feel about that? I feel like having the extra gold from the camps, or for killing the camps, is somewhat more useful than just the extra bit of damage that the Brutalizer gives you.
I feel it's pretty rare to get a first item Brutalizer. I know that is the build for the AD jungle item.
It's for the warrior item, definitely.
But still, I feel that the jungle item, I think it's pretty standard. I don't think I've ever seen a case where someone has gone anything other than the jungle item before that. But, you know, he's been pretty aggressive, and York do have a lead, so if he can use it and get some ganks off and use it, well, then who are we to say it's wrong?
Yeah, but it's certainly a very greedy item, but we'll definitely have to see how it goes. We did see Prince Philip taking his coveted roam to mid lane. Unfortunately, it didn't prove to be too useful this time. We did get a flash from the Sandra there, but other than that, not too much. So he's back up to top lane, and he actually hasn't lost any farm, which is, I don't know, I guess that's a problem with Maokai. He can't quite push fast enough, so...
Yeah, he still has, you know, after these minions should have about a 10 CS lead still, which is very good. I don't know if it's more the matchup or just a sheer matter of him outclassing the York top laner. But if he can keep this up and keep a lot of pressure top, I think that's going to be very good for Grey Warwick.
Notice that neither jungler has really shown their head top lane, because they want to get the pressure going elsewhere, especially bot lane, and I suppose mid lane now, as we see Lee Sin camping out the bush there, just to make sure, although he does spot out the Rex side potentially. Oh, he's going round, okay.
Lee Sin might be able to look for it, and I don't think it's going to change, unless it does. I think they did it forever. And bot lane, have a huge fight.
And I think he should be okay. Yeah, he's just about alright.
Yeah,
and there the exhaust goes down quite late, and that's a nice flash, but I don't think he's going to...
Oh, he does, and he does get the reset. They're going to go under flash. Oh, it must have been. He looked, they had a lot of health.
Yeah, he definitely did. And that was a nice little turnaround there. Jinx definitely needed that. It's only 9 farm behind now, so Miss Rogers has definitely managed to pick it up. And I do feel like Jinx has a lot stronger mid game than Caitlyn, and she may even have a stronger late game, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. When they get into those big team fights, the AoE damage from Jinx is going to be a lot higher than the damage that Caitlyn's going to put out. And
it's true that Jinx, once she's matched her Q, actually has a 700 range, which is a bit higher than Caitlyn's. So, there's not really much that Caitlyn has an advantage here over the Jinx.
Yeah, I don't feel the Caitlyn pickup. I feel it's more of a comfort pick on the side of York rather than a more strategical pick. As I said before, Caitlyn doesn't have the lane pressure over Jinx like she does over other champs such as Sivir or Corki. So, going to see how that plays out.
So here in the mid lane is where Warwick's probably struggling the most now, especially with that kill going over for them bot lane. Is there a way back here? Lissandra's not exactly the easiest champion to gank.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, especially with the focus that Lee Sin is putting mid as well. There's always the risk of a counter gank, and the one thing that Warwick don't want is to give up 2 kills in the mid, let alone 1. So I think if I was cute little gal, I'd just play safe, try and farm up, and just sort of get to that mid game point and just hope to land some big Orianna ults.
Right. So here we are 12 minutes in and the gold is pretty much bang on even. Surprisingly enough, Warwick is actually a tiny bit ahead. Now that could be because of the extra assist they got on their kill. Having that extra 50% extra gold is somewhat useful, but they are a tiny bit ahead, only 100 gold. So this game is still very much wide open. Like I said before, the mid lane does seem to be the only real discrepancy between the two, but that's just how things are. If we look at the gold, AD carry, Mr. Rogers is slightly up, but mid lane may be going down again. He actually misses his E there. This could be a 1-for-1, and it is going to be a 1-for-1. Pretty good. Not too big a wave is pushed into Warwick's tower there, so although you lose a bit extra on than the Lissandra there, it's not too heavy a loss, so that's not bad.
Yeah, I feel that's okay for Warwick. You know, both getting a kill sort of is going to bring the difference a bit closer together. So that could have gone worse, but
there is almost a 1,000 gold differential in that mid lane now. It's almost getting to the point where it's going to be very difficult for Warwick's mid lane to fight back. But that's okay, they can keep going. Like we said before, that Warwick is really relying on that Malphite-Orianna combo to wreck people's faces, and I don't think that Orianna's a champion that should struggle farming at the very least.
Yeah, definitely, especially if they can get past this laning phase, get a tower middle bot, and just sort of try and force those team fights. The mid game team fights with the Ori Malphite combo, with the Jinx AoE, I think if they can pull it off, then this early game sort of difference isn't going to make too much.
Right, you are. Alright, so gold levels are still fairly even, honestly. It's only about 100 difference. We have to bear in mind that the dragon did go over to the Flappening earlier. The new dragon, how do you feel it really scales up? You don't get gold anymore, but you do get stats. How do you feel? When do you feel is the best time to go for that first dragon?
I think early game dragons had a lot more difference now. You see a lot of sort of LCS teams go for very early dragons. If they have a 2v1 lane swap, you get sort of 7 dragons coming out on the teams. And I feel they're a lot more contested than they were. And a great flash hook by the Purple Penguin there. The Janarok comes out, but the Malphite from both top lanes comes in again.
Both TPs.
And this is going to be a 4v3 though.
Orianna
the rest of
there.
Warwick is coming in.
So it is a 4-on-4. It's going to be a 5-on-4. They're focusing down the Thresh. We still haven't seen the Malphite ult. There it is. Prince Philip takes up the first kill of the fight, and it looks like it's going to be number 2. Have we seen the Lissandra ult? Yeah, Lissandra still has her ult, so I don't think she's going down. But that's a very nice little 2-for-1 trade for Warwick there, and they just in time for Dragon, no less.
Yeah, that was a great pickup. So I think there's just a bit of miscommunication on the side. They didn't collapse fast enough. Grey Warwick just came in faster and managed to group up and get the 2 kills. The Ori ult comes out.
Oh, Warwick! There goes the dragon. That's not
steal by Elysian, though.
That's a shame. He does take the kill, goes over the Jinx. Mr. Rogerson now 2-0-2, and actually has almost as much farm as the Caitlyn. So all that Caitlyn pressure, all the early game Caitlyn pressure is absolutely gone now. That's actually very good for Warwick. Like I said, the Jinx will scale up very well, but you have to question whether or not that dragon still actually needed to happen. Could Warwick have not peeled out and taken down the Lee Sin, or at least chunked him harder first?
Yeah, there's always a risk of a steal when you've got a Lee Sin on the other team. And I feel there just wasn't much cohesion between the Grey Warwick. I think 2 of them were still attacking the dragon, and the other 3 were killing Lissandra.
This could be bad.
Lissandra just flashed away with a sliver of
very
health.
aggressive, and that's a lovely tornado to keep him safe. And Mr. Rogers puts the pain back on Amicia Thresh. Now, Lissandra has 2 pink wards to take out. They placed 2 at the same time there in the dragon pit, which is slightly unfortunate. And Lissandra will say, nice, thank you very much, I'll take these 2 wards and take the 60 gold that comes with it. Up in the top lane, well, that's actually a big differential now, especially with the kill and the assists on Prince Philip. If we look at the gold graph, that actually corresponds to about an 800 gold lead there in the top lane. So, Prince Philip doing very well up there.
Yeah, as we said at the start, Prince Philip being Grey Warwick's star player, I think one of the players that's definitely going to know how to handle this lane, and definitely going to be a lane bully, and that's sort of showing the results up on farm, up on kills, up on assists, and it's just whether he can, if he's going to draw pressure up there to alleviate the pressure that's been mid lane on the Orianna, or if he's left to his own devices, 1v1, I think he's going to be able to get an early tower and then roam down and get these ults, which are going to lead to kills.
So I would like to see Warwick move their bot lane from the bot lane now they've taken the tower, especially when they can pressure somewhere else potentially. Do you feel like that would have been a good idea rather than just scaling Jinx to scale up? Because we've already talked about Jinx's scaling and say it is potentially worth her to just take the farm, but would it be possible for her to move around?
Yeah, I think now that they've got the tower bot lane, that they should be moving mid and sieging up. So you can just see there that if not doing it as a team, he's going to get caught out, and Simon goes down for another kill for York.
Indeed. But they did get a lot there. Lee Sin used his flash and his ultimate, as well as the Sandra ultimate. So, I mean, it's a bad trade. It's always going to be a bad trade. But if they can capitalise on the lack of summoners here, then perhaps Warwick can get something back.
It does look like Philip might get top out on the top side jungle, getting a bit too greedy trying to steal the red. And let's see if he can get out of the lead out of his ultimate. Yes, he does.
And he's incredibly tanky as well. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, although losing the Malphite ult does make you lose a little bit of pressure there. So that's a bit of a shame, but we'll see how it goes. Mr. Rogers is making his way up now.
Yeah, York seem to be congelating in the mid lane, so you try and get some damage on that mid turret. Grey Rock have responded though, and there is 4 of them in the mid lane. So
Caitlyn is a very good champion for sieging as well, so it's not really a surprise that we see them grouping up this early.
Yeah, definitely. They've got a lot of pick with the Threshed. If they can just sort of siege up, land a hook onto any of the mobile champions Orianna and Jinx, then they should be able to channel that into a kill.
Yeah, and with Orianna and Jinx on Warwick's side, it's not too difficult for them to defend the tower, even 4v5. So Prince Philip is getting a lot of pressure up top lane, and they are sending the Maokai up to respond to that, which I think is potentially the correct thing to do.
Yeah, they could have just tried to trade towers 1-for-1, but if they feel they can steal siege up mid with 4 men without losing the tower top, then that's what they should do.
Yeah, and it does look like it's going to be that way. Warwick gets some pressure back mid lane, and everything's going to reset. Caitlyn is moving down to that bot wave, and we will need Mr. Rogers to move soon, I suppose. Otherwise, that tower could be under siege itself. But Malphite is making his way down. We could see an engage coming from Warwick's side, although he does seem to be turning around now, and he gets pinged out.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of wards in the offensive. Warwick have a lot of wards deep in the York jungle, so it's very good for them. They seem to be playing quite aggressively. I know from experience that Prince Philip is one player just sort of doing whatever he wants, basically, to sort of wander around. He's tanky enough, he's got the ult and the flash to get out if he needs to. And so I think he's going to be just sort of trying to cause them using store pressure and get these ults off where he can.
And Caitlyn does take down that bot lane tower like we said she might do, which is unfortunate for Warwick. That's a little bit of gold over to the Flappening that they potentially didn't need to trade over. But they are keeping the pressure up on the mid lane, and Lissandra is... she's not the best wave clearing champion in the world.
Yeah, shouldn't have the best range for wave clear, like Orianna does. And so if they can take this mid tower, I think that's a good trade to have.
And at least they do, so that's pretty nice there. I'd like to see them roam up to the top lane now, I think, especially with all the control that Philip has on that lane. I think it should be fairly easy for them to take that.
Yeah, they can try and keep the pressure here. Thresh is a bit low and Lee Sin's at half health, but it's still a 5v5 at sort of 20 minutes in. It's not the best idea for diving under a tower.
Indeed. Well, there is 60 seconds now for Dragon, so do you think Warwick should potentially take in this pressure and using it to set up for Dragon, or do you feel like sieging the tower is more important?
I feel they should just sort of... I feel the Dragon's too big for them. But as I said, Malphite does ult under the turret and does get a kill to Lee Sin.
It's a very nice pickup, actually, and that should give them Dragon pressure if they want to take it, but they are still going for the tower. I don't know how easy this siege game's going to be. Like with the immobile Jinx, especially, it's just a matter of time before one spell hits and Jinx gets comboed down.
Exactly, you hit a Thresh hook. If Lissandra finds a way in with the claw and then ults, then it's just going to be a dead Jinx. Especially with Malphite ult down now, they don't have a great turnaround. But they do seem to be still sieging up this tower. They have the health advantage slightly over York. So if they can get this tower and then move down to the Dragon,
it does look like they're going to get it. That's pretty good. As long as they don't lose anyone
and a
here.
huge Orianna on 3 people.
And that worked out much nicer than we anticipated. That's good. Dragon's up in 7 seconds now, so if they move down to that, we might be able to get something here. The Caitlyn ult does land, but only...
Hits the Rek'Sai and doesn't do a lot.
Yep, good. And they do move down for Dragon, so that worked out actually surprisingly well. I feel like it was the Flappening's chance to pull the trigger there, and they really didn't.
Yeah, they stalled a bit. I felt they were looking for a hook or looking for a way in, and they were just too slow, and instead Warwick got the engage with the Ori ult, a great 3-man ult there, and just sort of blew up 2 people, got other the 3 others low, and no way they can get the dragon. That was a great play by Grey Warwick.
We just kind of saw how strong Warwick's wombo combo can be, and that was without the Malphite ult as well. So, yeah, it really is looking scary for the Flappening here, and Warwick have taken a 4,000 gold lead, which is pretty substantial.
Yeah, definitely. They did get that first dragon as well, so the AD and AP 6% buff is theirs as well, which is going to be important in the next team fight. They're also up towers, and they can just pressure them out. But Prince Philip once again looks like he's getting caught out, and he does go down this time, but it does take 5 for York to do it, but he does go down.
That is definitely Philip's specialty, and luckily they take him down before he grabs 3 kills together, so there's no shutdown gold for them there. That's rather fortunate, I guess, in a sense.
But York should be able to translate this into a mid lane turret. Warwick doesn't seem to be able to fast enough to respond, although there isn't many minions for York.
No, it's rather unfortunate for them, really, especially with their Maokai now up in the top lane again. But that's two lanes being pressured. It looks like Warwick is moving the Orianna up to clear the top lane, so I guess they take more precedent in saving that top tower. I can't really tell the HP right now, so that's the thing. Danneralt just being a troll, making it a tiny bit harder for the Flappening to take their tower.
But yeah, they do take it down, and it looks like they're going to pressure the inner turret as well. But the rest of Grey Warwick turn back, and they should be able to defend it.
And right now, Warwick is in a pretty decent position because Lissandra hasn't got her Zhonya's completed. But as soon as that is complete, those claws that she throws in under the tower, she could very well be following them in. And I do feel like Jinx especially, we said it before, but we'll say it again, could very well be having a bad day when that does happen.
Yeah, it's going to be... Mr. Rogers going to have to just play this game super aware. York have so many things they can pull the trigger on just to get onto him. A Thresh Hook, a Lee Sin Insect, Lissandra, ult, and if he's not careful, he's going to blew up and take him out of the front. So a great pick by Warwick there, just engaging onto the direction of the turret. And it looks like they'll turn this around and get Lee Sin. He does flash away, so they can keep this pressure mid.
Yep, and they are sieging up. The Jinx especially can take down towers so quickly.
Yeah, especially with the 402, got his Infinity Edge. Looks like he's going for a... Phantom Dancer next with a Zeal. Can I do that quick poke?
No, that would be a Phantom Dancer.
Yeah. Instead, Phantom Dancer instead of the Static Shiv, which is I think a standard build.
But they did change the crit chance on Static Shiv recently and Infinity Edge. So I feel like Phantom Dancer is definitely something you can go. It gives you the old. It gives you 55% crit chance, I think, with the.
Yeah, I think they moved the 5% crit chance from Infinity Edge over to Phantom Dancer.
Just to stop people constantly and always building the same old Static Shiv
combo.
It does mean his power spike will be a little bit later, but I mean, considering how strong he already is, I don't think it's too much of a problem.
Yeah, I think.
And that is the Phantom Dancer completed there. He does pick it up.
Yeah, you've seen the damage he's been able to put out in these big team fights with York clumped up. It's only going to increase now, so York going to have to watch out for that. If Warwick can just get control over the jungle, they need to take down this top tower, I feel, though, and then just move up, and they can just force the vision out, and then just get the initiation with the Malphite or the Rek'Sai. They should just decimate York, to be honest.
There's actually a considerable gold lead on every lane of Warwick, bar the mid lane, and I mean that shows just how the laning phase really went. I mean, there was a lot of pressure mid, and Orianna didn't have the best of times, but every other lane, especially top and bot lane, I suppose, did very, very well for themselves. I mean, that's very, very telling here. And Caitlyn takes one step too close and gets absolutely shredded down by a Malphite. That is Malphite for you. That is why Malphite is part of Bronze Zodiac.
Yeah, exactly. You got a bit too close and you're just taking it. And are they going to get a kill? Good flash with a Malphite to avoid the
That's a lot of ultimate spent to try and get Mr. Rogers, and he doesn't actually go down.
Yeah, they see, I said at the start, they've got enough peel from Janna and the strong front line of Malphite and Rek'Sai, and they're just not allowed anyone in York to get onto Mr. Rogers.
It's a shame, really. Mr. Rogers is so low now that you happen to feel that may well be the end of the siege. Mr. Rogers doesn't currently have any lifesteal. I'd like to see him pick up probably a Bloodthirster now.
Yeah, I think the shield, especially with the lifesteal, is going to just help him survive a bit. Also, could go for a... What is the item that gives you a cleanse? I can't think what it's called.
Quicksilver Sash.
Quicksilver Sash, especially with the...
But he is going for lifesteal there, so well predicted. Yeah, we did that very well. So unfortunately, Caitlyn who is also going for Phantom Dancer, isn't quite there yet, and it's really, really important for Caitlyn. Caitlyn really has a very good laning phase and then doesn't really pick it up again until she has those 2 items, the Infinity Edge and the crit attack speed item. Especially without an attack speed steroid, she really won't be putting out the damage. Not even close to how much Jinx will be putting out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, even though there was the early game pressure in the bot lane, she hasn't picked up any kills, only got the 1 assist, and is a long way behind Mr. Rogers, despite being up about 10 farm.
Indeed. So, top lane's back to bashing heads again. Like we said before, Philip's doing very well up there. Rek'Sai is about 10 farm off on Lee Sin, so Lee Sin's really been keeping up the farm. Rek'Sai being a champion can farm pretty damn easily with her AoE attack. So that's definitely not bad in the jungle, but everywhere else. And the gold is just slipping away from the Flappening. They're going to need to get a very good team fight off, but I don't feel like their 5v5 is actually as strong.
No, they're going to have to try and look for picks. They're going to have to try and get the vision down, just get a Thresh Hook or a Lee Sin kit, and just try and get a solo kill onto Orianna or Jinx. Because if they go into a full fight 5v5, they're just going to get hit by Malphite ult, and they're just going to die basically. Dragon has just come up, and York do seem to have superior vision. But Malphite's still top lane. Prince Philip has made his way down, so Warwick should be able to get control and should be at least get it, or at least force a fight.
And I like the way that Prince Philip walked down rather than teleporting down. Puts the pressure on Malphite rather.
Yeah, he's forced to walk down now, and you see Warwick were just faster to react than York were, and they take the dragon for pretty much free with no contesting.
Yeah, and they popped the Shirelias there, or the Talisman of Ascension, I should say. And Talisman of Ascension on Janna, is that what you would normally go?
I think going the Frost Queens is a more standard build for Janna. You get the slow. But on sort of this team where there's got a fast initiation, and Lee Sin gets blown up there, Grey Watch on a fast initiation now. They just want Malphite and Rek'Sai charging head on into York, and so I think Talisman's a good pickup.
Yeah, I really do like the pickup here on Janna, actually. I think that's actually very good, especially with the team comp that they're playing. It gives you the resources pretty easily. It's definitely looking good for Warwick at this point. Yeah. And there goes the Malphite, and poor Caitlyn is absolutely shredded down. She's not going to get much damage out. Here we go. We finally see the ult onto Orianna, actually. I was hoping she'd hit Jinx, but I guess not. Maybe Mr. Rogers isn't enough of a threat then. Yeah, let's give him some more kills first.
Yeah, and that was a bit of a messy team fight by both teams. Ended up being 1-0 in the favour of York. And sort of the Malphite ult was good, but Orianna only got onto one person, onto Caitlyn, and did manage to flash and heal the way out of that fight. And then sort of a few of Grey Rock were attacking the turret. Janna was attacking it, got the aggro, and then got the Sandra ult and got taken out. Oh no, Orianna, my bad. And so, no, bit messy. York managed to get the 1 kill, and this could be, if they do a couple more fights like this, could be sort of slight to get back into it, but it's going to be tough.
I mean, it's very typical of Prince Philip to be ulting straight under tower with no one else around. The combo did go out really well. It's just, unfortunately, Orianna didn't quite have the damage there, but I think this time, if that should happen again, Caitlyn's probably going down, especially without Flash.
Yeah, definitely. If they can get another combo like that, maybe on a couple more people, then I think that easily could go Warwick's way a lot better. I think it's just going to be tough. I want to know how the communication is going. I know in the past, Philip has been one to just sort of act on impulse and ult wherever he wants, basically. And so I think that's definitely something.
They're going for Baron now. Waltz on in there and go for Baron, then he just set it up, and it does look like the Flappening is responding, and there comes the TP from Maokai. So we'll see how it goes. Lissandra jumps in and ults herself. I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, and Jinx is just really getting rockets off from the backside there. It's pretty easy. Malphite definitely doesn't have the damage to dive the backline like that. And there's the Malphite ult, and yeah, this is not looking good for the Flapping at all.
It should just be a walkthrough for Grey Rocket.
Yeah, at this point it's just too much. They're not playing their win conditions correctly. Like we said in the beginning, they just don't have the damage to deal with this incredibly strong Malphite.
Yeah, as I said, they've fallen behind sort of in the mid-game. Grey Rocket a good chunk of gold ahead, a good chunk of items ahead, and unless York could pull off the perfect initiation with getting that Lissandra ult onto Orianna or Jinx, which they did in this case, you see they just get clearly out-damaged, out-CC, and blown up.
I really do feel Mr. Rogers has performed pretty well. I mean, we were saying that he might have a hard time not getting blown up, and here he is, 606 later on, and not really looking troubled at all.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you could say, you could put blame on York's part for that, for not getting this finish onto him. We also have to give credit to Sarnum for playing the Janna and just doing great peeling, keeping the Maokai off, keeping the Lee Sin ult, just the tornadoes, and then Sin's shields, and they've done a really good job of protecting him and allowing him to become 606 basically.
And especially there, I thought Lissandra got a really nice ult off, but unfortunately the rest of her team didn't really follow her in at the right time, and she just got blown up as soon as the ult wore off. I don't even know if she used her Zhonya's there, actually.
Yeah, there seemed just to be a lack of cohesion, basically. It was Lissandra got right in the middle, they were right in the Baron pit, and if the rest of the team followed up, if Lee Sin was getting in there, if Maokai was disrupting people, could have gone a lot better for York, but it just didn't happen.
Mr. Rogers does pick up the last Whisper there. It's really going to help him shred through that Maokai when he attempts to dive down. I feel like Maokai in general is better at peeling. He's more of a peely type of top laner. I can understand trying to dive the back line, but he doesn't really have the damage, even with the Rod of Ages there.
Yeah, I feel he's only sort of got the single target CC unless he can get a good sort of knock up. He's more sort of single target, either going onto one high priority or defending a carry, taking something like an Irelia. And yeah, the front line of York just isn't that strong. The Lee Sin has gone quite a damagey build with the AD jungle item. Only got a Sightstone, a Kindle Gem, and a No Magic Mantle for defense. And especially with how strong Mr. Rogers is, if he dives on the back line and doesn't kill him, he's going to die.
I mean, it's especially difficult for junglers these days, because with the extra strength of the jungler, they really don't get as much money, and you can kind of see that. And he only has 1,400 more gold than the support, and he has got a decent 40 farm on top of that. So it's really a bit hard for junglers. If they fall behind, they really do struggle quite a lot.
Yeah, and especially sort of releasing quite a snowball. He's going to snowball, or he's not going to do a lot basically, because he's got to be on that back line. He needs to get behind him and get the ulti off. And if he's not tanky enough and he doesn't have the damage, he's just going to die. So I think Ashen Face is in a really tough spot right now.
Yeah, definitely. Lee Sin scaling has never been its best part, and it's definitely, it doesn't help if you're behind. You just really can't do too much. You're an ult machine, and if you don't get your ult off from the right person in the right direction, then you really don't bring a lot. And that's what we're seeing here, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel the idea of strategy from York for getting the pick and just killing onto the Jinx is not a bad idea for the execution.
And speaking of which, and there goes the Caitlyn, like we said. That was a much nicer, and Mr. Rogers is going
Gets the heal flash, but still goes down to ignite.
That's what we wanted to see from Lissandra. That's what we needed. We needed that massive ult onto Mr. Rogers to bring him down, because if you do get that, look what they can do. That was very, very nice. And that's with Caitlyn being absolutely wrecked instantaneously by the Orianna Malphite combo, which is pretty damn awesome, I have to say.
Yeah, even though Greyrock did get a good initiation with the Malphite Orianna, he didn't get Lissandra. And Lissandra is currently sat at 6 for 2, 267 farm, and you saw if she's left to do the damage onto Mr. Rogers, she does it and she kills him pretty instantly.
Yeah, and that was with Ignite going down as well. She's currently sitting on 334 AP, and that's without the death cap. So as soon as that comes in, Mr. Rogers really could be struggling a little bit. Now, he has picked up a Spectre's Cowl, actually, so it doesn't look like he's going for QSS. Would you reckon Banshee Veil?
Yeah, I think Banshee was a good idea. It's going to watch out for a pressure, and Lissandra is definitely going to sort of mitigate the chance of that happening. I just feel Greyrock needs to put more focus into Lissandra. They seem to be focusing on Caitlyn a lot in these team fights with the CC and damage they have. Caitlyn's 0-4-1. She's not going to be putting a huge amount of damage. She's not going to be the Jinx. They just really need to sort of work on killing Mr. Rogers and killing Lissandra, I feel.
Yep, and speaking of which, they may have stayed around a little bit too long, because Jinx is going to wipe the floor with them at this rate. Yep, that's 3 for Mr. Rogers. Easy peasy. Can he get the Thresh as well? Thresh may very well have escaped with his life. That's pretty sneaky of him. Mission Impossible Thresh over there. 9-1-7 on Jinx. It really is putting out a big performance.
Yeah, Jinx is definitely a comfort pick for Mr. Rogers. He's put on great performances in it before, and he's doing it again, basically.
And Jinx did pick up her first kill there, so that's bounty reset. Let's get the money. And as I say that, in goes Prince Philip, takes him down. Yum yum, I'll have that money. And actually, goes over to the Janna. Wants a piece of that ass, and takes it for herself.
Yeah, we're getting there. Don't know what he killed with. Janna's not exactly a high damage champion, but managed to get the auto attack to get the kill, and Greyrock and now can move over to the dragon. I think that is dragon number 3.
I think that may very well be 4. We can actually check out. No, it will be dragon number 3. You are correct.
Yeah, so they'll get that movement speed boost, which is going to be, it's going to make the initiation even easier. That 8% plus the Janna speed up, plus the Talisman Ascension. If you're caught out of position slightly, you can put Bottle then. Prince Philip is going to head straight into them and just ult them and they're going to die. So you're going to have to be super careful with vision and positioning now, because 1-1 move and they're going to get.
the Flappening have a very nice vision control around that. Have very good vision around that dragon. But they really can't do anything against this Warwick team at the moment.
Yeah, I feel both teams are very good at putting down vision, but I don't think either team's been that great at clearing vision. Grey Warwick have 2 red trinkets and 3 yellow ones, whereas York have 4 red trinkets. But you can see both teams have a lot of vision, and you normally think in a game with this much control out of Grey Warwick, they should be denying York a bit more vision. But with Baron spawning in 20 seconds, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Rek'Sai is fairly tanky now. He did go for the Hexlink as second item, which is notorious for keeping your HP levels a little bit lower than what you might like, especially with the poor junglers going around. But we'll see how it goes. Baron is spawning right now, actually. So Baron is live. We'll see how they go there. I feel like there's almost nothing the Flappening can do. If they face check into this, they will get absolutely wrecked by the combo of Warwick.
Yeah, they don't have a blue trinket to sort of look from far away. And so if Grey Warwick can keep their vision up, then they're going to force York to either give up Baron or try and face check and just die. And you can see here, Malphite with great ulti on the clear them.
And it does look like there's way too much CC there. That's 2 kills for the mid laner of Warwick. Flash, well there goes the and there goes the 3rd kill. A little bit of overkill maybe, but it's all good.
Yeah, ulti wasn't.
And that very well
needed,
could spell the game, to be honest. Death time was going to get 30 seconds.
Yeah, they can at least pick up this in him. Whether they'll go for the win now or peel off and do Baron, I'm not sure, but it looks like they are just going to go for the win.
I think going for the win is the most sensible option here. The Sandra's going to have to get a huge ult off, and I don't think she can actually kill everyone. She's going to try. She instantly doesn't even ult herself. I'm surprised. She's got to whack the ult R there, I think, but oh well. And that will be the game in favour of Warwick. Oh, very well played by the teams. Turned out pretty similar to how we expected, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a good sort of strong early game from York, especially in the mid lane, and with a good pressure bot lane, but they didn't transcend that into mid game, lost some important fights, lost a lot of towers early game, and they just couldn't make the picks that they needed, and Grey Warwick's composition with just the AoE damage and the Fed Jinx just managed to steamroll them in pretty much every fight they had. Yeah,
but it was a very good game indeed. I'm actually very proud of Warwick for that. That was actually very nice. And everyone had a lot of kill participation there, which is something that I never did. No one with 100% though, but very, very good indeed. Yep. And Orianna did manage to pick it up in the end, actually potentially overtook. Yep, slightly more gold than the Lissandra there, although how much of that is objective gold, you're going to have to question.
Yeah, with 10 turrets to 3, I think a lot of that is going to compromise it.
Very good game from Warwick, well played everybody, and we will be back in a little while.
take it back to the crib.
Okay, so welcome back everybody, and it's us again. This is Warwick League, brought to you by Tom Tarot Beast Coward and Roy Sauce Wiltshire, and we will be joining this game partway through this time. It's a game between...
Oh yeah, so for this game we are unfortunately already 12 minutes in, but we will be seeing Firefang Warwick on the red side, who are one of the other top teams from Warwick, and they are against Manchester Bunnies. So looking straight away, I said we are 12 minutes in, 3-2 down, and Manchester are up about 2k gold, but we'll have a quick look at the team comps and then we'll get up to what's happening. So on the blue side, as I said before, we have Manchester Bunnies. In the top lane we have Tenchair playing Rek'Sai. No, sorry, they're not in order, my bad. In the top lane we have Paradox playing Scion. In the jungle we have Tenchair playing Rek'Sai. In the mid lane, Mr. TD on Caston, and in the bot lane, No Sorega on Caitlyn, and on support, Fight for Bunnies. And on the red side, we have Firefang Warwick. In the top lane, the Doctor on Irelia. In the jungle, we have the Head Crusher on Lee Sin. In the mid lane, Tobinator on Kayle, and in the bot lane, Bedinum on Jinx, and Tips and Nostalgic on the Janet.
Alright. I apologise for that, we just had to have some technical changes there. So I will swap these around and hopefully that keeps everyone in check. Alright, so like we were saying, it does look like Manchester Bunnies have a slight lead here on Firefang, and that's probably mainly due to the tower difference, don't you think?
Yep, so... Sorry, let me see what's going on. I'm trying to think how many towers each team's got. Blue team have taken one tower in the bot lane, and they've just taken a tower in the top lane. And Firefang Warwick have taken one tower in the bot lane. Manchester also have one dragon, and Firefang have 0 dragons. So that's going to be a big difference there. If we look across the scores, Cassidin just picking up a kill there makes himself 3 for 1, whilst Tobinator on the Kayle looks like not having a great game, being 1 for 4 and down 35 farm already, so it looks like that's where the big action has been happening in that early game.
And interestingly enough, this is another matchup where we're seeing a Caitlyn versus a Jinx. I don't know if that's because people feel like they want to harness their inner Piltover. But once again, it does look like Caitlyn's coming out slightly ahead in the laning phase, and because there were no kills going over to the Jinx this time, perhaps we'll see it play out slightly differently.
Yeah, I think definitely you can see Caitlyn has sort of the 20-odd CS advantage, and they've both got both towers down in the bot lane, but as in our last game, Mr. Rogers on the Jinx picked up a lot of kills and managed to get the lead there. It looks like this time Caitlyn is going to have the advantage, and if she can push that and get to the late game and get the more items fast than the Jinx does, I think there's going to be a big difference there.
There is the farm alarm, baby! No, it does look like he's going to try and get some... nothing really comes from that. Does get the ward though, so worth or worth. We're already going to have to question that. Lee Sin is making his way down. Now this Cassidin does look like it's getting potentially scary. He has finished off his Rod of Ages, so he will only be getting stronger from here. And Cassidin's a mid lane champion. Do you throw him in the mid lane or the top lane?
I don't know, I would say it's a tough, like there's a lot split between the two. You can play sort of top lane a lot recently, but it looks in this mid lane matchup, especially for Kayle, he's 3 for 1, so it's definitely worked out for him in this game.
And a huge farm differential there in the mid lane as well. It doesn't look like Kayle is having a good time. Really haven't seen a Kayle in a long time. They nerfed her range a little bit and she's definitely been struggling, and it does look like Firefang is going to get walked over right here. The Jinx just doesn't have the damage. Doesn't have the damage output, and yep, and Lee Sin, you're not running away from a Cassidin. That's not going to happen. Cassidin picks up his 5th kill and really isn't looking very good for Warwick this time.
Yeah, just not the best initiative from Warwick. I think they did manage to get in and get the steal though. Lee Sin did manage to get his Q smite combo off and take away the dragon, but at the cost of 4 deaths, it's hard to deem whether that's a worse situation. I feel just the leads coming out of Manchester with the 5-1 Cassidin, Caitlyn being a lot ahead on items, you know, they're just purely out damaging them, and there's not a lot.
No, unfortunately for Kate, she hasn't picked up a single kill yet. And I always feel like that's a terrible thing on Kate, because you really do need that second item before you hit the skill point, but she also doesn't really have an ability that will kill you. Sure, she has Piltover Peacemaker, which is her Q, but at the same time that takes a little while to cast, and often it can be more beneficial just to auto attack, so it's definitely difficult for a Caitlyn to pick up some early kills, and sometimes that can actually bite you and fight you later on.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a Jinx, who has the ultimate, is going to put a big area damage, or like Lucian and Graves, who are casters, who have sort of a lot of heavy damage coming out quite often. in team fights, she's really going to be just auto-attacking and then maybe using ult to pick up a stray kill afterwards. But yeah, you can see Thresh has picked up a couple of kills, and Caster's taking those kills, and Caitlyn's just left with 0 kills and 5 assists, and all she has an Infinity Edge, although that is considerably more than what Bedlam has on the Jinx, where hasn't finished an item yet, so clear difference there.
Yeah, and if you look at the farm differentials, there are actually a big difference there between the AD carries and the mid laners, so that's probably contributing towards a lot of this almost 6k gold lead, which is a huge lead really, 20 minutes into the game, not even 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're 17 minutes in, and that huge gold lead, you know, Manchester up 2 towers. They are even on dragons, they both do have that 6% buff. But it only looks like the only lane which has gone reasonably even has been the top lane, where Irelia has managed to pick up a China farm lead. But she's 0-1-0, Sion's 0-0-4, and so pretty much across the board, Manchester have quite a sizable lead.
Yeah, and even in that top lane, there's a 300 gold lead there for the Sion on the Irelia, which is rather unfortunate, especially since Irelia hasn't quite finished off her Triforce. Now that is a pretty big spike for Irelia, and it's always nice to try and get that in the laning phase rather than after it. So we definitely have to see where she goes from here. She doesn't quite have the tank stats yet to really get in the fight and get involved.
Yeah, if she tries to jump into the back, get onto the Caitlyn, you know, she's going to be peeled off by the Thresh, and there's a lot of damage going to come out of Casting and the Caitlyn herself, and I don't think she'll have the survivability at the moment to win a team fight by doing that.
Yeah, definitely so, and this Kassadin is rather terrifying right now, I'd say. He picked up another blasting wand to go with his boots and his Rod of Ages, so I imagine that's going to be either built into a Void Staff or a Death Cap, or I mean, it would make most sense. What do you think that will be?
Yeah, I think so. I assume this is the case of just he had the gold for blasting one, so that's what we're going for at the moment. I would think that Zhonya's, is that more of a standard build than Casting? Especially not a bad item against this team where there's a lot of heavy burst coming out of Kayle and the Jinx. But yeah, I think Blasting Wand, there's a huge lead in this Casting. Death Cap's a great snowball item. Not a bad pickup next.
Yeah, definitely so, but I would like to see the Zhonyas come out there, especially with being a melee champion. Casting pretty much needs it when he's going to jump in, especially when you're so much of the team's damage. I mean, being 5 kills up in Cassadin, obviously you're putting out a ton of damage, and so if you jump in and get instantly blown up, which is always possible, we could see Warwick turn this fight around, but it doesn't let they just give up the tower. There's not really much to it. This could turn out nicely for Warwick. There's some go as a badly sink through there, but yep, it does look. Aurelia steals the kill with the Q and gets the Cassadin down. This is what we were talking about. Cassadin's dropped now. Do Manchester have the damage without Cassadin? It doesn't really look like it. Jinx could pick up a kill here. Sion is not going to get away this time. Lee Sin actually gets off 2 smites in this fight, so that's rather interesting. Are they trying to give it over to someone in particular? No, and it's taken by the Lee Sin there, who actually took a... No, only picked up 1 kill there. So Aurelia picked up 2, Lee Sin picks up 1, and Jinx, I believe, picks up 1 herself?
Yeah, Jinx got 1 herself. That was just a pure case of Manchester overstaying at the tower, not respecting the damage that, even though Warwick are behind, they still got a Jinx, they still got a kill. Aurelia has a lot of farm. They put out more damage, Jinx got the resets, and they just chased them down. And that's a great way for Warwick to start to get back into this game.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at Warwick's team, they definitely have a lot of damage sources with Aurelia, Kayle, and Jinx. So there could be a lot of damage coming out, and they definitely have the peel with both Janna and Lee Sin to some extent. So they haven't got a bad team comp by any means, but I feel like a very fed Sion, a very strong full tank Sion, especially once he gets Frozen Heart, will do so much to their team. I mean, Kayle and Jinx are both very auto attack focused, so Aranduin's is already slowing that a little bit and bringing the Frozen Heart, and they're really going to struggle to take him down.
Yeah, definitely. There's a very strong front line on the side of Manchester. As I said, Sion's going to be in their face, knocking them up, getting in the way. Casting and Rex are going to be diving on the back line, and Kate's going to be far away from her back line. And so, especially with Kayle being so weak, only got 93 farm at 21 minutes, 1 for 5, only got the Stinger, with Nash's 2 I mean. And so it's going to be really tough for 5 to get his back at the moment. But you saw in that last fight, they do have a lot of damage as well, and they have a lot of AoE with the Jinx and the Kayle. And so if they can just sort of watch out for the Casting ult, if Casting jumps into the back line, chuck the Kayle on the Jinx, help us to survive and just sort of scale a bit more late game and get that damage off.
And Lee Sin is not going to survive that. You can't outrun the Peacemaker. Not the Peacemaker, the ace in the hole. And he's shot straight between the eyes and he falls down. That's rather unfortunate actually. Gets caught out a blue buff and mean, Kale isn't a champion that specifically needs that blue buff, especially to wave clear, and I feel like they potentially didn't need to be there. It's probably not the best place to be caught.
Yeah, I don't think they had the vision. You can see great vision coming out of Manchester, especially in that box side jungle. 4 or 5 wards down there, and especially with their strong hit comp, just the Thresh and the Cassidin jumping in, then if you're caught out like that, you're going to die.
Especially with Aurelia picking up 2 of the kills in the last fight. If she's not there, you're missing a lot of your damage. And I do feel like Warwick is struggling there. I really do.
Yeah, especially you can just look at Lee Sin's items. He's just got a Sight Stone with the... What enchant is that on the
That's
jungle?
Warriors.
So that's the damage one.
Yeah.
Yep, so he's not going to have a lot of health. If he gets caught out like that, he's going to go down. And so Firefang have to be really careful with his vision and not get caught out.
Yeah, definitely so. And Kale gets hooked in. I think they could have gone there, but Sion potentially doesn't have teleport. He's walking down himself, making their way down it. If Warwick can pick up this dragon, that would be some way back, I suppose. And it does look like, well, Aurelia is very strong. Sion has finally arrived, and he is making his way around now. Now, Sion is incredibly tanky, like I said. He is building towards that frozen heart, so once he completes that, I imagine Warwick will definitely struggle taking it down. Posturing around Dragon. Dragon has now fully reset, and Warwick are taking the chance to take the Scuttle Crab. Gotta kill the Mr. Crabs.
Yeah, Warwick have the health bar advantage here. Castin's very low. And Warwick still have all their ults pretty much apart from the Janna ult and the Aurelia ult. And so they've still got the Kale ult, which is huge. They've still got the Lee Sin ult, which is good for a pick. And they still got the Jinx ult for AoE damage. So if they can just get in, regain vision control and sort of maybe force something could go right.
Yeah, definitely. And Warwick have taken the opportunity to push down mid lane, which I think is the sensible thing to do, definitely. But they did allow Castin back to base, and he's going to be running down rather quickly, as the Castin does. And he does pick up the Void Staff as the next item, which I think is sensible enough. There's not too much magic resist on the side of Warwick right now, but I'm sure they're going to build it, especially as the only threat. I definitely would like to see him bring out that Zhonya soon. I think he's definitely going to need it. I mean, we've seen the impact of him dying, or what impact that can have on the team fight, so he definitely needs something to keep him alive there.
Yeah, definitely. If he is a bad initiation, you know, ulting just a bit out of place, then he's just going to get slowed by Kale and Janna, and if he just gets blew up, then you see it's a really tough time for Manchester to find damage elsewhere, because they're sort of they're relying on Caitlyn. Rek'Sai's pretty much gone full tank, Sion's going full tank. They're just not going to have the damage to finish off the rest of Warwick.
Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, Aurelia looks like she's picking up a Randuin's Omen as her next item, which is sensible enough, I suppose, when you're facing a Caitlyn and a Rek'Sai, but you have to question whether or not the Cassidin is a bigger threat right now. Cassidin should be diving back to the back line, I suppose, so maybe it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, if she's just solely focused on getting to the back line of Manchester, killing Caitlyn, stealing her off, stopping her damage, then the Randuin will be a very good pick-up. If she's caught in a situation with casting the damage her, it might not go so well.
Yep, and there goes the Kale, and Jinx needs to get the hell out of there. I don't think Jinx is going to survive this one. I feel like Casting needs to run there. But they do go for the Aurelia instead. Rek'Sai picks up 2 kills, and yeah. This is the thing. Cassidin, you don't run away from him. He catches you, he kills you. Easy peasy. And Sion does pick up that one, and yep, that's Cassidin for you. He's coming for you. He's hunting you down. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Yeah, and both teams just have great chase like that. You see the Jinx on Firefang, they have the Jinx reset, so if they get a kill, they're going to chase you down. But then Manchester, you saw just then, they've got the Cassidin. If they get 1 kill, if they get all of you low, there's just nowhere to run. You're just going to try and get away, but he's going to catch you and you're going to die. And that just goes a great fight for Manchester.
Yeah, and this is a 25-minute inhibitor, which with 6 towers to 1, you've got to question whether there's even a route back at this point. It's almost a 9k gold lead. It's almost insurmountable, really.
Yeah, huge gold lead, huge tower lead, huge vision lead. They're going to go back and get their second dragon of the game now as well, and it's looking pretty bad for Firefang at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy for them to claw this back. The Rek'Sai is incredibly strong, and Lee Sin really picking up the Hex Drinker as the next item. I feel that is definitely a questionable pick.
Yeah, as I said, like, if Castin's doing damage to him, then he's not doing damage to Jinx or Kale, which he should be doing, and he is doing at the moment. So I feel Lee Sin should have gone just more armour, so then you can try and help get to the back line, try and blow up the Caitlyn early in a fight, and then they can focus everything onto Cassidin. I don't think it's a good pick.
No, I feel like Hexdrinker is a very greedy pickup. He needs the health to survive. Right now he's just getting chunked down by Caitlyn crits, and Caitlyn, having finished both the Infinity Edge and the Phantom Dancer, is really putting out a lot of damage.
Yeah, one thing Warwick don't lack at the moment is damage. They've got the Kale, they've got the Jinx, they've got the Aurelia, but what they are lacking is survivability. We're seeing they're just dying. and a heavy trinket is going to help much with that.
Yeah, definitely so, and especially with Janna, who does look like she's building towards the Talisman of Ascension again. Now, do you think that's going to be used more in retreat than aggression?
I think definitely so. In the rare occasion that they do pick up a kill, it could be good to chase down more of them. But you saw in that last fight, if they need to get away, they need to do it fast, otherwise Cassidy's going to catch them. So the Talisman's going to be a good pickup.
But we did see Cassidy blow his flash in that last fight, so maybe they can capitalise on that. So we have them moving towards Baron. I guess Baron could very well be the next objective for Manchester. And Cassidy's pushing up the top lane. There's not an awful lot you can do to catch him, honestly. They don't have a lot of definite CC on the side of Warwick.
Yeah, all they've got a stun out of Irelia, they've got a knockup from Janna, and that's pretty much it apart from slows. So it's not the instant lockdown which they need to kill.
No, definitely not. Aurelia's trying to dive on Caitlyn, but even with the Kayle ult, she's not really going to get through. And this is just miscommunication on Warwick's part again. They're all split, but not really doing an awful lot.
Yeah, there was just no follow-up from the rest of the team. It was a good job by Aurelia to get into the backline. She had the Kayle ultimate on her, but there was no damage from the rest of the team. She just got killed, and then Casting came in from behind and just cleaned up the rest of 5 on Warwick.
Yeah, definitely so. And they're now pushing down the middle to try and take the base. They could very well get it here, honestly. There's still 15 seconds on death time as Janna's the only one left. I don't see Janna as the real hero here, so we'll see what happens. But I think this very well could be the game for Manchester. If not, very soon to follow.
Yeah, it looks like they've got both inhibitor turrets down. They've got the Caitlyn, all 5 members are up, and they are going to take the next season to kill.
Yep, and that is the game. That didn't really last very long at all, especially since we came in 15 minutes through. We only really caught half the game. But yeah, a very good performance from Manchester by the looks of it. They seem to play to their strengths very well. And once Caston gets big, there's no going back, I'm afraid. And that just seems to be what happened here. So, well played, Manchester. Nice picking up that win. And we'll be back in a little bit.